in business and in life. Awesome. Recording in progress. Yeah, whoops. Where's my mouse like this? Can't see it. Okay, wait a minute. Let me just go out because I can't.
You can use your arrows too. I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is wait a minute. Let me stop sharing. Give me 5 seconds. I just want to do my full screen because I do want to be able to see my mouse. There we go. We'll do desktop so you guys will see the whole thing. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So peak performance in business and in life. I truly believe that there is a correlation and a very high importance between understanding that it's not only succeeding in business, but it's as well succeeding in life. And it's not only succeeding in life, but having financial difficulties. There is this correlation and this synergy that happens together. This is why I'm not just a business coach or I'm not just a life coach. I'm a peak performance coach. So we're going to talk about that balance aspect today and really how to help you guys to level up and be that high achieving individuals that you know you already are and really bring it to the next level. So the objective today, we're going to look at 3 main things. We're going to look at 3 main things. The first lesson we're going to look at is the secret of success. Then we're going to dive into the conscious and subconscious mind. And then finally, we're going to talk about how to maintain and achieve high performance, and highlight maintain over there because getting it is one thing, but maintaining it throughout years and years and years, that's where high level of success comes into play. So like I mentioned previously, so this, to optimize this presentation, I'm going to invite you guys to either put your phone on airplane mode and not look at it too much, unless you're watching the Zoom through the phone, and that won't be cool if you guys go airplane mode because you'll miss out everything over here. But what I'm saying is, as much as possible, try to be in depth within this keynote so we could really take the most value out of it. As well, take pen and paper, focus, dive in, take some notes, and there's going to be a moment at the end or throughout to ask some questions. I do not like to do this in a monologue way, so I do love to have that give and take from you guys. So if you have any questions, like I said, you could put it in the chat throughout the presentation. Katie will look at them and filter out some of them and see if there's some that really needs to come into play. She could stop me whenever during the speech, and at the end, it's going to be an open forum Q&A. All right. So before diving in, I just want to give you guys a little background of who I am, and you're seeing me being very young. This was my first career choice. So I wanted to become a fireman. Now, the reason why that was, there's a whole back end story, but I want to just give you guys a short explanation behind it. The main reason I went into fireman is because I was afraid, which sounds crazy, right? My fear of reading and writing dictated for me to go into fireman. Now, let me explain that. So for people who don't know, I'm dyslexic. Dyslexia is a learning disability that has to do with reading and writing. So fortunately, at a very young age, my parents realized that I had a learning disability. They used to compare me a lot to my sister. I was 2 years older, and they used to realize that, my son is really putting in the effort, but it's just not clicking when it comes to reading and writing. So they did a bunch of research, and then they found the ideal school for their kids. So me, called Vanguard, which is a school specialized for students with learning disabilities in the greater region of Montreal, where I'm from, Montreal, Canada. So once they found this school for me and they got me into the school, I realized that I wasn't alone as a dyslexic kid or student. There was hundreds of kids like me. So I started understanding a bit more what dyslexia was. I started figuring out the proper tools and methodologies that I needed to succeed in the school environment that we were given. Now, as I started succeeding and just going up the high school and then coming to my last couple of years, we had to figure out, what do you want to be in the future, right? Like everybody that goes to high school. The first thing that came to my mind is, hey, I want to be a lawyer. I like wearing nice suits. I like talking. I'm like, yeah, let's go into that. After researching that career a bit more, I realized like 85% of the job is reading and writing. So I'm like, being dyslexic, I do not want to do that. So I'm like, let me look or find a career that doesn't have a lot of reading and writing. Thus, what I found was fireman, which was truly fun. I really enjoyed it. Got my whole degree, started working into that field. But I realized as I was in that career that I was actually repressing my true reality, which was to be an entrepreneur my whole life. I remember when I used to go into the classroom, when the teacher used to come into the classroom and say, kids, put yourself in teams up. Even before she finished the word 3, I had my head up and I was looking for who reads the best, who writes the best. Let's put a team together and let me delegate the work. Delegation 101, that's entrepreneurship. I remember in college when I was failing, I used to go see the professor afterwards and I used to be like, oh no, that's not what I meant. This is what I meant in the exam. Used to negotiate my grade up. negotiation 101. So because I was in an education system that wasn't tailored for my needs with my difficulties, I had to be very entrepreneurial. So as I went into the fireman world, I realized this was great, but I have to go into entrepreneur. So the thing I decided to go into is to be a real estate broker. So I was in that field for 5 years. I was blessed, truly enjoyed it. My entrepreneurial spirit went up, and I was able to, that's the first time I actually took a decision, not letting myself getting hindered by my dyslexia. Because previously I went into fireman because I was afraid of reading. And now I'm like, hey, let's go into brokerage. And for anybody that knows the brokerage industry, there's a lot of reading and writing, a lot of legal documents, $1 million property, so on and so forth. But I had at that point had enough confidence and knowledge of how to utilize my strengths in that regard. So started succeeding, winning some trophies and so on. Then I was invited to give a speech, which is the picture on the top right. My speech therapist that used to follow me in high school called me to ask me a question about real estate. And after a few minutes of asking me a question about the property, she's like, Chris, how's it going with you? And as you guys notice, I could go on a rant. So I went on a solid rant. I'm like, oh my God, it's going great. I'm having so much success. I was succeeding in the traditional form of what success was, tailored to society, the car, the house, the money, all that fun stuff. And then she said, Chris, I'm the keynote speaker at this event put together by the Learning Disability Institute of Quebec. I would love for you to come and explain your story of how you are succeeding as a dyslexic entrepreneur. I'm like, absolutely, I would love that. That same evening, guys, she sends me an email in the subject, written in caps. Chris, I do not think you should do this speech because there's still a lot of people that have a negative misconception of dyslexia, and you might lose some clients, and you're new in the entrepreneurial world. Now, granted, I know she was coming from a place of love. She was coming from a place of protection. But I wrote her an email that same evening saying, Bridget, I 100% believe I should do this speech. I'll call you Monday to explain why. Monday rolls around, give her a call. I'm like, Bridget, I think I have to do this speech because if I'm not doing it, I'm not helping the kids that are on the school benches right now. I'm not helping the next generation. And I'm not helping my future kids because this is something hereditary. I would be fake, and I'm not fake. I have to do this speech. And she's like, oh my God, yes, absolutely. I just wanted to come from you. I didn't want you to feel forced to doing this speech. I'm like, great, let's go ahead and do it. And I'm like, Bridget, how many people are going to be at this event? She's like, about 200. I'm like, all right, cool. Now I didn't know what to expect. I got ready for it. That day came. I opened a door. I looked left and right, and there wasn't 200 people. It was more like 1,000 people. Now, at this point, I've never given a speech. My heart is going. I am sweating. I'm like, what did I get myself into? I'm kind of like freaking out, sitting down, seeing one professor after another, one doctorate after another, go on stage and speak about all kinds of things about learning disabilities. And then the moment comes, and they're like, Chris, please come on stage and present your story. And the best way that I could explain it, and maybe I do not have the proper vocabulary or the words to really express what I felt, but for me, it was a divine moment. The universe was preparing me my whole life for that moment. And I realized when I was on stage teaching others, that was my life's calling. And then from that moment on a switch of a dime, I knew getting off that stage, my life wouldn't be the same. I completely let go of everything that I'd built in real estate, which was completely successful. And I started going into becoming a professional speaker and a peak performance coach. Everybody around me thought I was crazy because I built something, and it wasn't easy building something in entrepreneurships. You guys know what it is. It took me 1.5 years to succeed as a real estate. I legit paid to be a realtor before actually making money in that regards. But then my career started from there, and I really found out that that's where I wanted to be. And then from that one speech, started getting invited to do little speeches in classrooms. And that's how I became where I'm at right now. So I wanted to give you guys just that little brief story of history of how I became a professional speaker and a peak performance coach, and how that one moment really shifted my life, and I really leaned into it. Now, as I went into all of this personal development, I started asking myself, what is success? Like, what is the secret to success in itself? And as I researched it, and I've done hundreds of hours, years and years, and really going into depth in personal development, reading books, listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, having mentors, coaches, and so on and so forth. And the main thing that I realized, it is the law of attraction. Now, granted, the law of attraction may seem like hula la or whatever the case is, but everybody that succeeds at a high level in some way, shape, or form talk about this law of attraction. Some people utilize the actual words of law of attraction. Some people say other things, but it means the same thing, and they correlate it to this aspect. Now, why is this law of attraction so important? And the reason that it is important, and it made me realize something after seeing this speech over here. Everything is energy, and that's it. That's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It cannot be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics. Albert Einstein. Now, once I understood that the law of attraction is real, started dabbling into it, trying to attract it, then I saw this quote that legit changed my life, because in this quote, Albert Einstein says, everything is energy. All you have to do is match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. This is not philosophy, this is physics. And for me, the correlation of philosophy is thoughts, ideas, but physics for me is more tangible. So once he started saying that, I'm like, how is this tangible? How can we work the law of attraction in a tangible way? What's actually happening? As I started doing research into it, I started finding something that's called the reticular activating system, RAS for short. Now, the reticular activating system is a part of your brain. The best way I could explain it, essentially, it's the filter of your brain. So right now, guys, you guys are looking at me talk on the screen. You guys are seeing many other things. Maybe you're driving the car. You guys are seeing people pass by. You're seeing so many colors. You're seeing, in fact, over 2 million elements at a time. But your brain, unfortunately, doesn't have the capacity to assimilate all that information. So what happens is whatever you see, the reticular activating system takes what you see and filters it to what he thinks is important for you and gives you that information. So you could be walking down the same street as your colleague and you seeing only negative things because that's what you're thinking about, that's what you're attracting. And the person right next to you could be seeing all the opportunities that you're walking down the same path. So all it comes down to is your thought pattern and what you're believing and attracting for you to see those opportunities, because everybody has those opportunities around them. Now, one example I could give with this, I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to ask you guys to either pick up your hand or kind of just tell yourself in your head over here. I'm sure that everybody here has already bought a car in their lives. Maybe it took a couple of months to study what car we wanted to buy. Maybe it was a couple of weeks. Maybe it was a couple of days. We looked at the model, the engine, the leather inside, what's the color, so on and so forth. Now, once the day comes that you pick that car and you're going to go and get it and go to the dealership, you're so happy, you get the keys, you go into the car, and then you hit the first red light. And then as you hit the first red light, you notice exactly the same car passing you by. You're like, that's weird. I've never seen that before. I thought I was going to be unique here. You go a bit further and then you see the same car again. You go a bit further and you see another car exactly the same. You're like, what's happening? I'm not that unique. Now, the reality is that car has always been around you. You've just never noticed it. But because for X amount of time that you were studying to buy that car, you started putting importance towards it, your reticular activating system starts spotting it out and telling you, hey, this is important for you. Hey, here's that car. Hey, here's that car. So that's how this law of attraction in itself activates. Everybody has the same reality around them. It's how we utilize it. Now, this is one aspect over here. We're going to take it one step further and really explain how to utilize this at such a high level. Now, to do so, we have to talk about the conscious and subconscious mind. So there's two parts of your brain, okay? And this is how we're going to be utilizing the law of attraction. There's the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is actually the biggest part of your brain. It equates to anywhere between 90 to 95% of your brain. So 10 to 5% of your brain is actually the conscious mind. Now, why is this important? Because the subconscious mind creates everything that you will have in your reality. So whatever you are creating, the abundance, the family, the success, the well-being, the mental state of mind is created in your three-dimensional reality through your subconscious mind. So as you are thinking about and programming whatever you want to program in your subconscious mind, it will create it into reality. So as you see in this picture over here, you're putting it in almost like a computer programming, hey, success, you start imagining it, and then it starts coming into reality, the abundance and so on and so forth. Now, the best way to look at it and understand it is to see it through this analogy in this picture right here. The subconscious mind is the earth, and the conscious mind is the gardener planting the seed, taking care of that seed, watering it, allowing the sun to come in and letting it culminate so it could grow in such a beautiful and majestic way. Now, here's the kicker, guys. Your subconscious mind doesn't care what you plant. It will give it to you as much the same abundance. So if you plant a poisonous oak tree, it will grow that poisonous oak tree to the same level as if you plant a beautiful apple tree. If you plant that beautiful apple tree, it will grow, it will give you shade, and it'll give you the fruits of that tree, and you'll be able to be succeeding with that. So here's where it comes down to. We have to be very much aware of what we are planting in our subconscious mind. And this happens through our beliefs. That happens through our verbiage that we use, our physiology, how we walk, how we present ourselves, how we interact energetically with other individuals. All this happens subconsciously. Now, there's a conscious way to know that as well. But to do so, we have to start planting the things that we want in our minds. So if you are thinking about, you know what, oh, wow, I want that convertible car, that property that's going to give me amazing cash flow, you want to start imagining it and feeling it in such a visceral way. Now, here's one thing that doesn't get mentioned as much when it comes to visualization. The visualization works at a higher level when you feel the emotions that you need to feel throughout that process. So it's not like, oh my God, I have a car and you just imagine that car. What you have to do is add emotions. How are you going to feel when you're sitting down in the car? So you want to create that reality of you going into that car. You have your hands around the steering wheel. You're smelling the leather of that new car. How do you feel in that moment? Are you excited? Are you prideful? Are you happy? Are you like, oh my God, I've achieved the goal of buying this car or this property, X, Y, and Z. So once you're doing your visualization, more than anything, your subconscious mind understands emotions at a higher level. And there's so much research that has created this or has proven this. Okay. And here's one in itself. There was an Olympian, and unfortunately, a year before the Olympic run for her, she had completely injured herself. And as you know, Olympics is every 4 years, and it's a very fine amount of time that you have to potentially be the best in the world to do that Olympic trait. This person got injured. And within the moment that he got injured, with the rehab that they needed, it wasn't going to be necessarily possible for her to be representing her country for the sports that she was doing. So what she did was every single day, even though she couldn't move, she had a broken leg, she imagined doing the same exact workout as her colleagues, even though she wasn't physically there. So once her colleagues were skiing down, she was a skier. Once her colleagues were skiing down at 8 a.m. and she knows that, oh, that's the workout they were doing, she used to wake up, sit herself on their bed. That's all she could do. And just visualize doing the same types of workout, the same aches, curves, so on and so forth. And then as she was doing this throughout the whole day, and then she knows, oh, after that, they go to watching the replays. And then she imagined herself watching the replays. Then they go into doing weightlifting. And she imagined herself doing the weightlifting. This person did not lose any muscle strength, and in fact, gained into some areas, because your brain does not know the difference if you really do it at a high level of emotions, what's happening in the real three-dimensional reality and what's fictional. But whatever you imagine, he'll start creating it into your reality. So that's the power of your subconscious mind. So if you're giving to it of like, oh my God, this is a tough month. Oh my God, the finances is bad. Oh my God, about relationships, this, that, and the other. And you're only putting that negative energy. That's what the universe is going to give back to you. That's what the subconscious mind is going to create towards you. So understand the real strength of setting these emotions. Now, as we created this and you started getting, hey, the positive ideology, and then you started succeeding because you're really living into it compared to the fear one, and you're having difficulties, the next thing we have to understand is how to go about it step by step. And here are the keys to program your subconscious mind. The first one, you have to define a specific purpose. You have to have a specific goal. So what is that goal for you? Is it to make X amount of sales this month? Is it to have an X amount of weight on your body fat percentage? Is it to start a new relationship with X, Y, and Z? Whatever the case, it has to be specific and precise. Next thing we have to look at is you have to use the power of auto-suggestion. So affirmations. So you have to start saying I ams like it's already created. Like I said, imagine, let's go with the money aspect. If you want to be a millionaire, you don't say, I would like to be a millionaire. You say, I am a millionaire. Even though it's not necessarily true in your bank account right now, the second you claim it, it is your birthright and it will be true. Then all you have to do is have faith that it's going to manifest in your three-dimensional reality. This is the third thing over here. Use the power of emotions. I spent a bit of time on this. It's really important. So it's not necessarily just being like, oh my God, I want to be a millionaire. It's about what is the emotions that brings. Is it pride? Is it success? Is it the understanding of being fulfilled of like, oh my God, I could do whatever I want. I'm not bound down to a 9 to 5. I'm not bound down to a schedule. I am free. I could take care of my mother if something, God forbid, happens or whatever the case is. So it's understanding those emotions that will create at a higher level. The fourth thing, start visualizing it as if it is already done. So act as if, like we said in the I ams, it's already done. It's already your birthright. And one example within that, which I like to correlate, is when you manifest something, when you call it into your reality, it's the exact same thing as ordering something on Amazon. Now, let me explain. When you order something on Amazon, you're like, you know what? Okay, I want to get this sneaker. You order it. What happens after you pay? It shows you the date that it's potentially going to arrive, right? So maybe you have Prime, you're going to receive it next day, maybe in a couple of days, whatever the case is. When you manifest something to the universe, it's exactly the same thing as Amazon. You're manifesting, you're like, hey, I would like to have this body. I would like to be this financially stable, X, Y, and Z. You've already placed the order. The second the order has been placed, it's coming towards you. It's getting shipped. The only difference, and listen to this properly, the only difference between the Amazon that we know and the universe is that the universe doesn't give you a date when you're supposed to receive it. All it asks of you is to have faith that it's on its way and it is going to be yours. Now, granted, you could be like, all right, Chris, this makes sense. I'm going to do it. I have faith it's going to happen. Now, maybe a week passes, maybe a month passes, maybe a year passes, maybe a decade passes. You're like, yo, this doesn't work. F this. What happens to Amazon when you order something and the postman knocks on the door and you're not there to pick it up? Brings it to the post office. What happens if you don't take that paper and go to the post office and pick it up from the post office? Gets shipped back to Amazon. It's exactly the same thing in the universe. If you ask for something and you lose faith throughout the process, it might even come up to your door and you don't have faith in it. You don't believe it anymore. So that moment for that opportunity to really come and germinate to the way that you want it completely misses it. So our job into manifesting is having faith whenever it will happen. Sometimes it's sooner, sometimes it's exactly the time you think, and most of the time it's later. My personal experiences, but it's always happened. Whatever I have in my world, I've manifested it. Last thing over here, like we mentioned, be precise, be repetitive, and have faith. Okay. So you have to be persistent. You have to do it in a repetition way, and you have to have faith. If you do not have faith, this is not going to work out. Now, to go into this even more in depth, and you guys are seeing that I'm a brain geek, and we'll dive into that a bit more, and I'll explain why that is. There is ways and moments throughout your day that is better than others to put the proper information in your subconscious mind. Once again, remember the analogy of the gardener planting the seed. So there's moments that there's a proper time to plant a seed. If you start planting a seed, like I said, I'm from Montreal right now and there's snow out here. I don't know if most of you people are from California. If I want to plant something right now when the ground is frozen, then I'm not helping myself, right? I have to wait for spring. I have to wait for summer to really take care of that and understand that process. It's the same thing for our brains. Now, to understand that at a higher level, we have to understand that there's 5 main brain waves, and they're right here in front of you. The first one is gamma. Gamma, the brainwave, is high levels of vibration, okay? That's when you have an aha moment. So like that amazing idea that you're just sitting down and it comes to you. Maybe you're washing dishes or maybe you're in the shower, like, oh my God, that's the idea. You have high levels of gamma at that point. Then you go into the next one, which is beta. Beta essentially is right now what we're all at, which is the conscious awakening state. So we're all in that state right now. Then you go into alpha. Alpha is a more relaxed state. Maybe you're done your work. Maybe you're chilling. Maybe you're just drinking a little glass of wine. Maybe you're reading a nice little book. You're with your family, so on and so forth. So it's a more relaxed state. Then you go into theta. Theta is an even more relaxed state than the previous one. So maybe you're sitting down and you're meditating. Maybe you have a moment of silence. Maybe you're on the beach and you're lying down and the sun is hitting your eyes and you're hearing the waves go in and out. You know where you physically are, but you're kind of going into falling asleep, but you're at to wake at the same time and kind of titter-tottering between those two states. That's theta. And then finally, the last one is delta, which is completely knocked out and you're sleeping. Now, what do we need to understand within these 5 waves? We have to understand that the alpha and theta state is the direct correlation, the direct bridge from your conscious and subconscious mind. So if we use the analogy of planting the seed, that's when you plant your seed. That's your springtime. So now once you guys understood this, you know that minimum twice per day, we go through these brain waves, right? Because you're waking up and you're going to sleep. So the moment that is the best to start influencing your subconscious mind with affirmations, with visualizations, with all this beautiful stuff, with the law of attraction, is when you're in alpha and theta. Therefore, when you're just waking up or when you're going to sleep, just before going to sleep. That's why you've probably heard of some people put headphones when they sleep of positive affirmations and it works and they start creating it, is because your subconscious mind is linked up more to your alpha and theta state. So it's going directly to your subconscious mind. So here's what I'm going to ask you guys to do. This is the call to action. I will talk about it more at the end because, like I said, I have this specifically in the workbook. For this to work, we're going to create a bedtime visualization. This is a movie that we're going to create together, a film, okay? Now, in this film, there's three main categories that I want you guys to look at. The first one is your physical and mental well-being. The second one is your personal connections, relationships, and love. And finally, the last one is your career and personal finances. Now, I gave you all of this great explanation of the subconscious mind, conscious mind, how to plant the seed, so on and so forth. Now, what I'm going to invite you guys to do is create a movie for these three main categories and then start visualizing it and imagining these movies while you are falling asleep. Okay? So now the best way I could explain this at a higher level, I'm just going to give you guys the example of my personal stories on each of these so you guys could understand and how to potentially build it for yourselves. Okay? So my movie for the first one, which is my mental well-being, my physical well-being, I imagine myself waking up, getting out of my bed. I imagine myself looking myself in the mirror with no shirt on and being extremely proud and like strong and really centered of how I look. I look like somebody from the Avengers. I'm cut. I'm perfectly shaped. I'm happy. I am strength. All of this emotions is what I'm feeling. I'm even maybe flexing a bit, having some fun with it. Now, this is something that I'm imagining. I'm not actually acting it out. I have my eyes closed, falling asleep, but I'm imagining it and I'm linking the emotions. Somebody might see somebody that is under 10% body fat and be like, oh, wow, he has abs. What I see is, oh, wow, how much do I need to work to get to this point? How disciplined did I need to be to get to this point? This is strength. This is resilience. This is the man that I want to create. That's what I see. Okay, so that's my mental and physical health. The second one is my personal connections, relationships, and love. So the movie that I play is I'm receiving my family at my house for an amazing feast. So I'm actually an Armenian descent. So it's a very big part of our culture, food, and so on and so forth. So for me, in this regards, I'm imagining receiving my parents and the table's full at my house. My mom comes in, give her 2 kisses. My father, the same thing. My brother-in-law, dab him. My sister, my little niece comes up, runs up to me. I pick her up, I kiss her. This is all things that fill me up with joy, with my culture, with everything that I truly love. And then I have my future wife that I don't even know who she is, what she is, but I'm thinking she's about this height. I feel her around me, giving her a kiss, right? So these are things that I'm visualizing. I'm calling it in already, and I'm living it with such joy. That fills me up. And then the third one is my career and personal finances. So what I imagine, once again, is waking up, getting dressed, going into my beautiful walk-in closet, deciding what suit I want to wear today, going to my garage, picking out what key do I want to take to drive the car I want to drive. I go into my office, see the big Dedeyan Enterprises sign, see Sarah, my secretary, which I not know why, but I named her Sarah. I'm like, hey, Sarah, how are you doing? I'm having these conversations within my dream. And then I go towards it, see everybody else. Everybody's working in such a vibrant, energetic place that everybody's happy. And then in the evening, I see myself being on stage talking to amazing entrepreneurs such as yourselves in front of thousands of people, truly being fulfilled. I don't know if you guys are noticing right now, but like I'm in my zone right now. This is what I should be doing. So I am so connected even when I'm dreaming about being on stage, because that's the moment that I am the most alive. This is my purpose. So I'm truly visualizing it and activating that and knowing that my financial impact is getting created because I'm bringing massive value, which is creating massive impact, which is going to bring massive income to my bottom line. That's the way that is done. So those are my 3 movies. Those are my main ones. I have subcategories, different movies. Sometimes I switch it up, but that's what I do when it comes to going into that visualization at the moment that I'm falling asleep. Now, some of the common questions that I get within this regards is first and foremost, hey, Chris, as I'm falling asleep, I only have time to do 1 movie or I skip through it or, oh my God, how do I do it? So I could do all of them. That's the point. It doesn't matter if you don't do all of them, do one. And if you're falling asleep, that's perfectly okay. All we want here is for you to have the proper thought pattern when you're going to sleep. Okay. So if one day you did one movie, the next one you want to do the other one, perfect. There are certain days that you're going to do all three, so on and so forth. And the way to kind of explain this at a higher level, I'm sure every single person on this Zoom call right now has had a moment that financially it was difficult. Or maybe you had an argument with your spouse, or maybe you thought of something you said that you shouldn't have said and it's bothering. And then you go into bed thinking about that in such a visceral way. What happens? Your night is not proper sleep. You're waking up, you're stressed. It's just not a proper sleep. Why is that? Like I said, the subconscious mind doesn't care what you plant. It will give it to you at the same amount of abundance. So if you're planting that scarcity of like lack, of failure, of not enough money, for a fight with my significant other, so on and so forth, your night is only going to get created that. So what we're doing here, understanding how the subconscious mind works and the conscious mind works, we're planting the energy that we want and we need for our success. All right. So I'm still going on. Like you guys see, I could go, Katie, if there's any questions or whatever, jump in.
The only question that came up was when you were talking about like manifesting, ordering from the universe, planning things. The question was like, how far out did we go? And I mean, I think I know your answer, but.
Awesome. I love that you're asking that. And I'm going to explain it right now with a little storytelling. There was this beautiful person. And by the way, guys, I'm answering Katie's question right now. So listen in real deep. There was this young lady that started her career in journalism. And she was very eager and loving that career. And she was very excited about it to be a TV anchor and so on and so forth. Somebody more her senior, a mentor of sorts, was seeing that she was so energetic and wanted to succeed. So she's like, you know what? Come to my house and I just want to mentor you more and talk about your career and so on and so forth. Obviously, the young person's like, yes, absolutely. I just started my career. I absolutely want to do this. Now she goes to this person's house and the mentor obviously has been in TV for so long, successful, financial, so on and so forth. She drives in this affluent neighborhood, seeing the houses, the cars, the this, the that, the people walking with the dogs. Like she's seeing things she's never seen before because she actually comes from a less affluent neighborhood. She drives into the driveway and then she sees a house like this. Now, obviously, the house is majestic, beautiful, the cars and all that. But what she notices is that there is 6 trees on the land. She's coming from almost a ghetto in itself. There is no trees on people's lands. So for her, her correlation of success was trees. So she told herself at that moment, one day in my life, I'm going to have 6 trees on my house. Now, time goes on, and she becomes actually a very successful TV personality, wins all kinds of awards, so on and so forth. One day, guys, she's washing the dishes at her home. And then she picks up her head as she's washing the dishes, and she notices those 6 trees. But in fact, she doesn't notice only the 6 trees. She notices 3,687 trees, the actual number. And that's that person's property. Who's that person? Oprah Winfrey. And this is a true story. Now, why am I saying this? To answer Katie's question. Our mind only has such a limited capacity of what is actual possible. But the universe has a whole different plan for you. Oprah was just physically able to manifest and demand 6 trees. She's never known more than that. She was coming from a ghetto. If you guys know Oprah's life, I mean, it's crazy from how she was abused physically, mentally, sexually, to the point that she got through racism, all that stuff, until what she actually manifested throughout her life. Her brain did not have the capacity to just imagine 1/8 of what she has become. So how big do we dream? Dream as big as you want. Because the reality is, even if you dream that biggest point, the universe has so much in store for you that you don't even know. The only thing you need to do, and granted, this is a big only thing, have faith and put in the work. You think Oprah Winfrey created this without putting in the work? She works hard. She manifests. She stays true to her purpose. So that's how to go about it. Katie, did I answer the question? Or you want me to dive into a bit more into it?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's like the best story. I think that the question was also kind of like, should we be looking at this as like this is what I want to do this week. This is what I want to do this month. This is what I want to do this year.
Yes, 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 on all three. What does that mean? So you should definitely break it down into yearly, quarterly, monthly, and weekly, and then daily goals. Okay. And then from there, you have your big vision goals and so on and so forth. So 100%, you have to have like stepping stones. And that's how you break it down in any sense of the way, right? So and I think I'm going to talk about this a bit further on how to set your goals and how to break it down to really achieve them. So we will mention that. But yes, you should have different types of them. And me, when it comes to my vision board, I actually have my vision boards are always made on a time frame of 12 to 18 months, so a year and a half. Anything above that, I'm like, okay, we'll leave it for another vision board. So I try to put whatever I want to manifest in that year at such a high level. So if I'm not at a level to manifest X, Y, and Z, but I know I'm getting towards there, I'm like, okay, what's the in between that I'm manifesting first? So that's the way I kind of go about it. And it's always every single year I rechange the vision board and so on and so forth. So that's the way I kind of go about it. And we'll talk about that a bit more in depth. Okay. So now the next point over here is how to achieve and maintain peak performance. Now, if you want to become a highly successful person, look at anybody. The only way they really go about it is by putting the proper rituals, habits, methodologies, and really rituals at a high level within their lives that brings them to that next level. That's the only reason. And that's the only way they really go about it. So the question is, how do we go about that? Now, to do so, I want to show you guys a little picture over here. And I'm not showing you guys over here the evolution of my beard or my haircut. But this was me in 2017, about this time of year on top of that. I was, like I said, in my entrepreneurial journey as a broker, and you guys even see a little Raymax pin on me as it was something that was very normal to have on. I had said that I want to do a New Year's resolution. And as I was creating my New Year's resolution, to the previous question, I'm like, no, I don't want to think small. Everybody does a New Year's resolution mid-January. It's like, it's done. It's broken. So I'm like, listen, I'm an intense character. I don't know if you guys are getting this, but I'm definitely somebody intense. So I'm like, let me be intense with this too. Let me do a New Year's resolution every single month. And let me compound that for the previous month and the previous month and previous month. So the first month I started meditating. I never meditated in my life. I started there. I did it for 30 days. So I had a little whiteboard and then going off whiteboard. And actually, this was actually in my parents' basement. Manifested buying a house, manifested hiring my first coach, manifested making my first 100K, manifested like all this fun stuff, started doing it from waking up at 4 a.m., from reading books, from doing my gratitude practice, 3 things I'm grateful for every single day. And that was the year that in such an amazing way, everything increased just immensely. I actually tripled the income. I've made money in that year I never thought I was going to do at that point. Started becoming physically more fit. Never thought I was going to be at that level. And that's the actual power of the compounding and having the proper habits and rituals. So as I went into that and it tested on myself, and I'm blessed enough at this point to do like hundreds of like thousands of coaching calls, being in front of thousands of people on stages, and having not only tested stuff on me, but to be having the chance to test it on different people that I coach and so on and so forth, I figured out these 4 things. And we're going to dive into those 4 things to really unpack to be a high performing individual. But before doing so, as you know, or as I mentioned, I am a geek about brain science. I want to ask you guys a question before going into this. Please put it in the chat. All right. How many days do you guys think for a habit to actually become a habit? So tell me a number of days that you guys think that we need to do for X amount of time to create a habit. And Katie, you could just tell me, because I don't have access to click in the chat. What are some of the numbers that are coming up? I see the
21 is a big one, 30 days, 90 days, 12 days, 60, 90, 30, 90, 11.
Okay. Okay, cool.
14.
14, 20, 21, and all that fun stuff. Okay. So you guys are mostly all right, and you guys are wrong as well. Let me explain why. Okay. So the common thing that we've heard is 21 days, commonly. But the reality of the matter is it actually takes anywhere between 18 days to 254 days. Now, why am I saying this? Because there was a misconception. The 21 days came from actually a plastic surgery doctor from LA. And he had noticed that his patients, after doing the plastic surgery, took about 21 days to get comfortable with their new faces, new noses, and so on and so forth. So he wrote a book, and it became a very popular book, and it got picked up by amazing thought leaders such as Tony Robbins of this world, such as the Jim Rohns of this world, and so on and so forth. So it became commonly believed that it takes 21 days, but actually it's anywhere between 18 to 254 days. And now there's certain things that you're going to do that are going to take quicker because you're used to it or whatever the case is, or it's something that's more easy for you. And there's certain things that are going to take the whole 254 days. And that's the experience that I had with those 12, the things that I tried. Some of them I picked up really quick because I had more ease towards it. And some of them still working on to developing it at a high level. Now, what's happening within your brain throughout this process? This is where we want to go into this picture. Now, we have to understand that there is a part of your brain right after your forehead, which is called the prefrontal cortex. That is prime real estate. Why that is? Because that part of the brain is the part that you utilize when you start something new, when you want to activate, get started, get that motivation to get going. You want to start your gym, like, oh, it starts there. But that's not where it stays. What happens after you're doing your gym and you're being consistent at it, then it moves from your prefrontal cortex to your basal ganglia. And then it becomes an actual habit once it goes there. Now, why is this powerful for us? Because as you're doing something and it becomes an actual habit, then you're opening up space back in your prefrontal cortex. Like we mentioned, your prefrontal cortex is prime real estate. That's where you need to be open so you could be motivated to do next thing and next thing and next thing. And this process going from your prefrontal cortex to your basal ganglia, like I said, could take anywhere between 18 to 254 days. So that's how the habits and rituals get created within your life. Now, the question is, how do we achieve and sustain this? To do so, I've broken it about in 4 main pillars of peak performance. And if you do these 4 main pillars and you put habits and rituals towards them, you're going to succeed at a very high level and you become a peak performing individual. It's impossible you're not. Like I've tried it, it's tried and true. If you follow this formula, it's going to work. The first thing we're going to look at is the morning rituals. So how do we go about morning rituals? Then it's your work rituals. What are the rituals, the methodologies, systems, and processes that you're putting in place for your work to succeed? Then you look at emotional rituals. That's a very important one that people most of the times don't look at. And then finally, the sleep rituals, which is huge as well. So let's start with the first one, morning rituals. As I'm checking the time, we're still there. Now, these are my suggestions that I'm going to give to you guys. And then we're going to talk about how to work it in the workbook. So whatever you're doing right now when it comes to waking up, I'm going to suggest start waking up a bit earlier than what you're currently waking up at. You don't have to be waking up at 4 a.m. like me, wherever you are, but I'm just going to invite you guys to do 15 minutes earlier than you're currently doing. Okay. 15 to 30 minutes. Do that for X amount of weeks, get used to it, and then bring it up to a time frame that you want even more. Once you wake up, the first thing I'm going to invite you guys to do is make your bed. There was a very popular TED Talk. Actually, no, sorry. It wasn't a TED Talk. It was a university commencement speech by a Navy SEAL. And he talks about the advantage of making a bed, which is highly important. As you make your bed every single day, it's your first victory. And that victory compounds to something else and then bigger and bigger and bigger throughout your day. And if ever you have a crappy day, at least you could go back into a bed that's made. So first thing you want to do is make your bed. It starts off your day in a positive foot and positive note. Then what we want to do after you wake up, do your bed, then you want to have a moment of mindfulness, a silence moment, even a moment to really look at your emotional state. So that could be through meditating, that could be through praying, that could be through just sitting down and just noticing how I'm feeling today. Am I feeling the things I need to feel? Am I angry? Why am I angry? Am I excited? Why am I excited? To understand all these emotions. So first things we're going to do. Then we're going to go into your affirmation, your vision board, and setting your intention. Now, the affirmations, I'm going to invite everybody here, if it's not already done, to create a list of I ams. And these I ams could be, I am powerful, I'm strong, I'm a phenomenal brother, I'm a multimillionaire, I am the greatest keynote speaker of our modern time, whatever it is. You just say it, so we're instantly changing your state and your story. That's the most important thing. As you change your state and your story, then the strategy comes about. So we're doing that with affirmations. Then we're going into the vision board. Everybody should have a vision board. This vision board, you're going to look at it in a conscious way, and you're going to look at it in a subconscious way because it's somewhere that you should be seeing it every single day, that you cross paths numerous times throughout your day. Once again, what did we explain previously? The reticular activating system will start seeing the things on your vision board and will start pointing you towards it. So if you want X, Y, and Z, once that opportunity comes, it's like, hey, Chris, go check out that opportunity. It's going to get you what's on your vision board. And then you start creating it like that. And then you want to start setting your intention. So what is the intention for the day? What are my top 3 goals? Set it up, go towards it. Then you want to sit down and do gratitude journaling or any type of journaling. But gratitude is one that I truly love. Write 3 things you're blessed about. As you remember the previous picture of my New Year's resolution on steroids that I call it, when I got to that part of doing a gratitude practice, I decided to do 3 things I was blessed about every single day for that month. And I remember back then in 2017, I actually thought of, hey, that's going to be 90 things that I'm grateful for. I'm like, I don't have 90 things to be grateful for. That's actually a thought pattern that I went through back then. Since that point, I haven't missed a day that I've written my gratitude practice, and there hasn't been a day that I've repeated myself. We have so much to be grateful for. It's crazy. Granted, it's important to want more, go for more, and so on and so forth. But sometimes just taking a step back and looking at what we already have is such a powerful place to be in. Guys, everybody that's on this call right now, you guys are the 1% of this world. We know this. Granted, we want to be even more. Fine, let's go get it. You deserve it. But let's take a step back and be like, hey, you know what? I'm healthy. I'm alive. I have great kids. Oh my God, we're all in North America. What an abundance opportunity. We have the right of voting, whatever the case is. Look at what you're grateful for. Journaling could be done in that form or could be done in any thoughts, ideas that you have. Write down journaling. And then, like I said, your 3 daily objectives. I don't go more than 3 things that I want to accomplish within that day. I put my 3 things and then I start working towards it. If I finish them before noon, then theoretically my day's done. And I could stop if I want, or I could continue if I have the choice. Sometimes I write 3 things and I realize, oh, I overstretched this. I did not hit it. Then it goes on to the next day. But you don't want to have an abundance of to-do list that's just nonstop. That's going to overwhelm it. Target 3 things, that's it, that's all, and get them done. Next thing for your morning ritual. After we've done all that and we set our goals, we set our objectives, we looked at the agenda, what we have to do, then we want to start exercising. Now, exercising over here, I'm a huge fan of, because the correlation between your conscious mind and your body is so important. Okay. So it's not just feeding your mind. It's not just feeding your body. It's once you're doing both, there is this synergy and this connection that happens at such a high level. So why I put 4 to 60 minutes, because you could go work out, you could go out for a hike, you could do X, Y, and Z, you could go for a walk. All that is good. But don't tell me you do not have time to work out. It's a decision. And that's okay. I'm not saying work out every single day, but understand that you can work out. And I put 4 minutes here because I wanted to allude to a workout that's called Tabata. A Tabata workout is very simple. Essentially, you're going to work out for 4 minutes. How that's going to work is you're going to pick out 4 specific movements. You could do an example of, I'm going to do one movement. It's going to be push-ups. The other one's going to be squats. One is going to be jumping jack. And the other one's going to be crunches for my abs. And then what you're doing there with the Tabata is you're doing the workout, that movement for 20 seconds. And then you're taking a 10 seconds break. And then you do another 20 seconds and then 10 seconds break. And you do that for the 4 minutes as you're alternating from one station to another. 4 exercises. That's it. That's all. If you do that and you go hard, in 4 minutes, you get a solid workout. You don't need to be working out for an hour. Everything can be get done. So that's one aspect of the workouts. Then I'm going to invite you guys to read. Okay. Reading over here, anywhere between 10 to 30 minutes. When you're reading in the morning, I would invite you guys to read anything that's a bit more cognitive. So anything that's demanding a bit more intellectually because you're more fresh. I actually read several books at the same time. I'm going to explain to you guys why. So I currently read a book a week. And the way I go about that is I don't read one book from cover to cover. I read several books cover to cover, but I read with what I'm feeling in that mood. Because there's sometimes I want to sit down and read a cerebral book that's like, oh my God, I'm taking down notes. But there's other times I don't want that. So I look at my categories. So the first thing I have within my 3 main categories is, one category is my expertise. I always want to continually learn about my expertise. And when I read into my expertise, I, at this point within my personal development, with my brain science, so on and so forth, I know anywhere between like 80 to 85% of that content because I've studied it so much. But there's always that 10, 20, like 15% you want to go get. So it's important for you to read it, but it's not something that's demanding too much. Then you have something that I want to develop an expertise on that I don't know as much. That's the one that I'm cognitively reading. I'm highlighting, taking notes. I'm becoming more in tune to that new information. So that's the one I usually put in the morning. And then the third category is for pleasure. That's your nonfiction, your fiction. You could be Harry Potter. It could be biographies. I love reading biographies. Something you could even put like in an audiobook in the car. So that's the way I kind of break apart my reading habits and rituals. So in the morning, I do my cognitive reading, things that are a bit more demanding, things that I want to develop into that skill. All right, let's go into the work rituals. So the first thing you want to do within your work to succeed at a high level is put proper systems and processes in place. If you do not have a structured approach towards your business, you're just not going to succeed at a high level. If a client tells you, oh, yeah, I'm interested to buy, or oh, somebody messaged you on Instagram, like, oh, I'm interested to potentially come into Modere. I want to know more about it. If you're not taking that process, that name, putting it in a CRM, and then you have a list of things that you have to do within that CRM, maybe send them a thank you note, maybe get your assistant to contact them, whatever the case is, it's going to be harder for you to accomplish the goals that you need to succeed with that situation. Okay. Not only that, it demands a lot of cognitive pressure on you because you're trying to remember all this. Towards if you have the proper system in place, you're not thinking about what I need to do. The system's there. You put it in, you give it to your secretary does this, comes back to you. You know what you need to do. You know how to approach it. So look at how can you systemize your business at such a high level. One great book to kind of explain this is actually a book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. Highly suggested. The E-Myth essentially is the entrepreneur myth. And he explains that every single business that you start, you have to look at it almost as a franchising model, even though you don't have the ideology of franchising it, but think about building your business as a franchise, right? So imagine you walk into McDonald's and you're like, hey, I want to be a franchisor of McDonald's, and you buy the franchise. What are they going to do? They're going to give you a thick binder and be like, if you follow these steps from A to Z, you're going to be able to create a successful McDonald's restaurant. And all you have to do is follow it. Now, what you want to do with starting your business is, how can I create that document for Modere for my business? So if ever I want to sell it, I'll be able to give it to somebody and they all have to do is follow it. I'm not saying you have to sell it. All I'm saying is you want to approach your systemizing of business as the ideology of franchising. It's going to be highly successful. Next thing we want to look at, you want to do the money-making activity first, okay? So I call it MMA, not mixed martial arts, but money-making activity. So you have to look at what is your green time, the activity that you're doing that's bringing the direct amount of money within your business. Because you have to know 80% of all of your income only comes through 20% of your client or your actions in itself. All the other 80% of actions that you do are not the ones that are bringing your actual 80% of income. So figure out what is the first thing you have to do that's bringing actual money within your business, actually important. Now, the way to figure it out, it's usually the thing that you probably push that you don't necessarily want to do because it's not something you enjoy at a high level. Maybe it's prospecting, right? And then you're like, oh, you know what? I'll do it in the afternoon. And the afternoon comes, you're like, oh, I just had a big lunch. My stomach's digesting. I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow comes, you're like, you know what? It's Friday. Let me just take a break. We'll do it Monday. And then you push it. So the best way to go about it is do the most difficult thing first. Brian Tracy talks about this and he calls it eat the frog. Eat that frog first. It's going to create a positive momentum, positive ripple effect, and you're going to be able to do more things throughout your day, and it's going to compound to bigger success. Next thing over here, you want to structure your agenda. If you're not an entrepreneur that has a structured agenda, you're just not going to succeed in the way that you can actually succeed at high levels. You want to have that. Now, one way I go about this structuring agenda, I'm a huge fan of Google Calendars. You put your meetings there, you put your structure there, you put your workout there, you put your meditating time there, and then it's so easy to move things around. Not only that, it's easy for you to invite people. Like, hey, you have this meeting, all right, cool, send them the invite so they have it in their agenda as well. So you have to have it visually there, because if it's not on your agenda, you're not going to do it. So you want to put your personal life and you want to put your business life within this. Start slowly, and start utilizing it at a higher level, because everything that we're doing here is we're trying to diminish the cognitive pressure. I don't want you guys to start thinking about, oh, I have to speak to that person, I have this meeting, I have that, and the other. No, all you have to remember is, let me just look at what do I need to do today, look at my agenda. Because the second somebody says, hey, Chris, let's do a meeting together, and I send them my calendar link and you get set up, I'm like, all right, cool, it's set up there. I completely forget about it until the day of. I look at it like, or the week of, I look at it, I'm like, oh, this is the person that I have to meet for this day. So have a structured agenda and start following your agenda at a higher level. So put your prospect time in the beginning, so on and so forth. Set your intention. Now, this is a powerful one, okay? Before every single activity that I do, before every single thing that I do, I set my intention. Just like before this keynote presentation I'm giving to Modere, you guys right here, right before I was on a coaching call. The energy that I need to be on a coaching call is completely different to the energy that I'm doing as a speaker. So what I do before the day starts in my morning time at 4 a.m.-ish, well, at that point, it's probably 5-ish, I'm setting the intention of how do I want to show up for that keynote? So then I'm like, all right, cool. I want to be present. I want to be linked up with Mother Earth and the universe, and let the universe use me as a vehicle to get you guys the information that you need to succeed at a high level with the information. I'm like, how can I bring massive value? So I already said it. So once again, my reticular activating system knows what to do throughout the presentation at subconscious level. Furthermore, if I am finishing off my business day and I go to my parents' house, before even getting out of the house, I take a moment, just take a step back and ask myself, what intention do I want for this? And we'll talk about this a bit more in the next slide when it comes to the emotions. Okay. So first, set your intention for your business. Over here, last thing, measure your growth. Every high achieving person measures their success, measures their growth, measures how many sales they're making, their weight, their measures this, that, and the other. It has to be quantifiable to see what's happening. What's the thought pattern? What's going? Am I going up? Am I going down? What's my sleeping pattern? So on and so forth. You have to have something to measure to see if what you're doing is working. Oh, when I do this, this is what happens. Oh, when I do that, that's what happens. Oh, when I prospect in April, it's amazing for whatever reason, because you have the analytics to look at it. So you have to look at the analytics and start measuring your growth in every sense of the way. Now, one thing I could offer you guys over here for free, essentially, if you guys do not have a business journal or so on and so forth, this is a document that I created that's called the Let's Get Productive, which essentially is something that I utilized when I was a broker at a high level. And essentially, as you see, there's 4 sections, which are 4 different projects. You want to be having 4 different projects within your business rolling out every single time. And then you write those projects. And it could be like, hey, you know what? I want to start a new YouTube channel. So then under that project, what do I need to do? Do I need to learn how to edit? Do I need to find an editor? Do I need to get a YouTube course? Do I need to sign up to it? Whatever the case is, you start filling it up. And then you have that should be midterm goals with that. And then after that, you have people I need to reach out to on the bottom square, people I need to reach out to, because you don't want to remember, oh, I need to call this, that, and the other person. You write their name. Then the one next to it, that square, is people that I'm waiting for. So maybe I call them, I'm waiting for their response. I put it there. I'm doing everything I could do to diminish the cognitive pressure. I don't want to remember this. I want to have a system in place to remember it. Last little square on the bottom is people I need to go out for business lunch with. This is before COVID, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of meeting people face-to-face, connecting with people, trying to get other mentors, so on and so forth. And then on the top left, the most important one, first thing first, what we talked about, right? Eating the frog. What's the number one thing that I need to do to get out of the way to create this positive momentum? I could do prospecting. I could do X, Y, and Z. I put it there. And then I have a list of to-do. So if you guys are interested, Kate will let me know. I'll send you guys this. It's a standard PDF thing you guys could utilize. Like I said, if not, there's a lot of business books out there you guys could pick up on Amazon that could help you out within that process as well. All right. Why are we clicking next? There we go. Okay. So now, emotional rituals. You have to be able to control your emotions, okay? And to control your emotions, you have to be aware of these emotions. Understand that you are not an angry person. You are not a happy person. You are not a sad person. Those are emotions that you are feeling. So if you associate yourself with, oh, I'm an angry person, or I'm like super quick, or whatever the case is, you are not that. It's an emotion that's coming within you, and it's perfectly okay. As human beings, we have a range of emotions that we feel and we should feel. All you have to do is be aware of that emotion. You're like, I'm feeling a bit anxious right now. Why am I feeling anxious? Is this the right emotion? Should I keep this or no? And if it's no, you move it on. You're like, what emotion do I want to feel? Oh, I want to feel confident. Cool. Let's go into that. How do we go about it? So you have to be aware of that emotion. Then, like I was previously mentioning, setting the intentions. Set your intentions through transitioning from one activity to another. So I kind of gave you guys some examples of setting the intentions when you're doing work. Let's set some intentions when you're in your personal life, right? So the example is, I'm finishing off work. I'm going to my parents' house and I'm in the car. Before going into the car, I take half a second, just take a deep breath in. And I say, what do I want to be here? I'm like, all right, cool. My goal here is not to be Christopher Dedeyan, the CEO, the speaker, this, that, and the other. That's not the energy that serves my parents. What I need to be there is, how can I be the best son, the best brother, the best uncle, so on and so forth. That's a complete different energy. So as you're able to disassociate the energy that you need for every single activity, you're going to be able to achieve it and bring it in forefront so much better. And this is so important even now due to the fact that we're working from home. If you're not creating an energy barrier from where you're working, because right now I'm in my home office, I have my kitchen right there, I have my living room, I have my bed. If I'm not creating different barriers from my emotions, my body's not going to know what to do when it comes to those places. If I'm here, I'm in business mode. Once I get out there, I'm not in business mode. I shouldn't be. I should be in relaxed mode. So set that intention with your emotion for every single activity. Another thing I'm going to invite over here is a brag book. It says it in the name. I'm inviting everybody to have a brag book. Write down all the things you've succeeded at, all the things that you've done at such a high level. Maybe a mentor of yours, somebody that you appreciate within your industry has told you, oh, wow, you're amazing at this. Write it down. And here's how you utilize it. If ever you're having a moment, when you're having a moment of doubt, of insecurity, of fear, so on and so forth, pick up your brag book and start reading it. Instantly, what you're doing is you're changing your state and your story, which will change your physiology. And then your body will start secreting high levels of serotonin and endorphins within your body, and you'll feel happier in that moment. So have that, utilize it at a high level as an entrepreneur, because as you guys know, there's a lot of ups and downs. Fourth thing over here, set your definition of success, okay? Definition of success is highly important because you have to know what is success for you. Now, success could be physical things, cars, this, that, and the other for you. But I'm going to invite you guys to define your definition of success and put it something that's binarily so low that you guys have control over it. So for me, my definition of success is if I wake up every single day and I give it my 110% and I learn something new, I am successful. Now, granted, can I wake up every single day and give my 110%? Not necessarily, right? There's days that I'm a bit less energetic or whatever the case is, but I could still learn from that day. So in essence, my definition will always make it that I'm successful because I could control it. So set your definition of success and look at something that you can control. Next point over here, work-life balance is not 50-50. Work-life balance is whatever you need it to be in the moment that you are within your life and your personal journey. So right now, example, I'm a single guy. Let's say 90% of my energy right now is towards my business. It's growing. It's so on and so forth. Just hired my 9th employee. So like all this fun stuff. 10% is my family connection, so on. But tomorrow morning, if I meet that girl that was in my arm in that vision board, then I'm going to have to structure things. All right, cool. I want to start a relationship. Okay, where do I need to take out? Okay, maybe I need to put a 5% there. Then we get maybe married. Okay, then we have kids. Okay, then more percentage. Then you have to move it accordingly. Just be aware and set the time beforehand of what is that balance for you. Because the reality is your personal life, your business life is not two different things. It's very intertwined and connected. And that's okay, as long as you put your framework of how much time you want to spend in each one with the proper time frame and approach, essentially. Schedule days off. The ideology, the myth, the last couple of years that has been approached in entrepreneurship, that grind mentality, that work until you can't anymore, don't sleep, so on and so forth, in my personal opinion, is extremely wrong. In fact, there are studies that show if you do any work more than 55 hours a week, any additional hours is actually not efficient and not as productive at a higher level. You're better off to do your 55 hours at such a high efficient level, but while being in a state of flow and then taking those moments off to recharge and get back into it next week, and you'll live a happier life. So set specific days off, days that are non-negotiable, that this is the day what you're going to be taking with your family, relaxing, going getting a pedicure, doing your runs, whatever the case is. Finally, live in the present moment. Now, living in the present moment is really interesting because your mind doesn't want you to be in the present moment. He freaks out when you're in the present moment because that's the only moment he doesn't control. Once you're thinking about the future, it's 100% your mind that's controlling it. He's thinking about what could be manifested, what could be done, so on and so forth. If you're thinking about the past, even though it's something that's already been done, he could maneuver certain ideologies, certain things that you've thought out happened and create a new belief towards it. So those two parts he controls. But when you're in a present moment, when you're actually being as a human being, that's when you are the most fulfilled and centered you'll ever be. So work on, what am I doing right now? Right now, I'm doing this speech. This is the most important thing for me. I'm not thinking about my family. I'm not thinking about my clients. This is the moment. So you have to just hone in and be in that present moment. Contribute and serve. As you were doing this, my personal opinion, success through life has a lot to do with contributing, giving back, serving to others, doing your philanthropy work, giving back to your kids, so on and so forth. So if you're not doing that in some way, shape, or form, you are leaving emotional success on the table. You go ahead and get that. So you're going to feel so much more fulfilled. And like our friend Tony Robbins says, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And a lot of fulfillment comes through giving back, contributing, and so on. The final one over here, we're almost done, guys. Thank you for holding up, is the ritual of sleep. So the bedtime sleep, 30 minutes to 1 hour before you go to bed, you do not want to be looking at any screens, no phones, no camera, turning off work, no TVs. Okay. Why that is because of the blue light. Now, what happens when the blue light hits you, it plays around with your levels of serotonin and melatonin. Serotonin is the hormone that gets secreted when light starts coming in, the sun starts creeping in, and you start waking up. Melatonin is the hormone that starts getting secreted 2 hours after it gets dark for you to fall asleep. So if you're dark and you should be sleeping, but you're on your phone, you're shooting that blue light and your body feels confused because it has high levels of melatonin, but you're shooting serotonin. So you feel like a zombie. So be aware, 30 minutes to 1 hour before, no screen. During that time, I'm going to invite you guys to journal. Look at what you did for the day. What did you succeed? What went well? What are certain things you want to improve? What are you going to do tomorrow differently? Journal. Have a moment of mindfulness practice. Meditate. I do a meditation in the morning and an evening, anywhere between 5 to 20 minutes in the morning, anywhere between 5 to 20 minutes in the evening, depending how much time I have. Then you go into your visualization movie, like we talked about. You want to go into feeling that as you're falling asleep, those 3 movies. Finally, this is a big one, and I could do a full keynote, which last week I did a keynote at Raymax just on the sleep aspect. An average human adult should be aiming towards getting and succeeding getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Sleep is not a waste of time. It's the moment that everything you've learned, your brain processes it and puts it into place for you to remember it long term. It's the moment that you get the most recuperative sleep and the moment that it's repairing everything that has been done towards working out, towards this, that, and the other. So your sleeping is really important. Analyze it, approach it, and look at it to be very structured of what time you're going to bed and what time you're waking up. And the best way to go about it, whatever time you're waking up, whatever time you're going to sleep, try to be the most constant possible within that time frame. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to leave you guys with before going into the Q&A over here is one of my favorite quotes by Socrates. Okay. Socrates is a famous philosopher, a Greek philosopher. And he says, the only true wisdom is knowing you know nothing. Now, this is a quote that is tattooed in my heart because every single time I've learned something new, I've realized how much I do not know. And it's crazy that I'm saying this because legit for the last hour or so, I've been ranting at you guys and I'm saying I don't know nothing, but that's the ideology of understanding to be a student for life. So I'm going to invite every single person on this call today to be a student of life, to always want more in the aspect of learning. And as you understand that education process, life, the universe will always feed you that information and you'll be fully fulfilled. So thank you very much, guys. My call to action before the Q&A over here is everybody received a success guide. Me and my team prepared that for you guys. I want you to go fill it out. It's going to be 2 things that you're going to do. One, it's the movies. I want you to create those 3 distinctive movies. Write it down, because as you write it down, then you'll actually do it. Finally, from there, you're going to go into the next part, which is going to be the 4 pillars of your habits and rituals. In each of those pillars, I want you to say, what are you currently doing right now? And then the second part is what you're going to do to improve that pillar. So to put the proper rituals and habits in place. That being said, I hope this was valuable for you guys. You had some success out of this and you're going to go in depth. One last thing I'm going to mention, and this is a call to action to everybody. There's about like 40 some people on this call. I rarely do this at this amount of number, but I'm going to invite you guys to do it. This is where we're going to separate the people that really are interested for the people that are committed to their success. I send you guys a document. If you guys fill it out and you have any questions, you could inbox me. You guys have my email address within it, and it'll be my pleasure to come back to you guys. I'm offering this for free just for your community. I'm going to see how many people out of the 43 are going to do it. Even though you guys blow up my inbox, I will take care of it and I will send you guys a message on each one. So that's pretty much it. So now we're going to open the time for Q&A. Katie, I'll let you kind of take that on, and I'm just going to exit this and stop the sharing.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. It's so funny, you guys. My coaching calls with Chris are 45 minutes and it is like rapid fire. And I've said this a million times. I thought about becoming a coach at one point, and like working with him, it's like so exceptional. but like what he's able to do, I'm like, and with so many people, and he remembers everything. And I'm like, I don't think that that's the career for me. I don't think that that's my calling. And I thank you, Chris, for helping me figure that out. I'm going to do some other stuff. You're so exceptional at it. I just love this so much. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? If you want to type them in the chat or come off of mute, and ask. This
I'm
is
off
your
of mute. I
time.
would love to feel and see the person.
The evening visualizations, you guys, well, so you should know that like everything that he suggested today it's all been things that we've worked on over the last few months. And I have all my I am statements like at the end of my bed, I seriously, and then my affirmation is right now it's written on lipstick on my mirror because I couldn't find anything else to write it with. The vision board, all of that. But I know that this was just an hour of time in your day-to-day where you got to kind of hear all of these things, but I encourage you to go back and listen again, look at your notes, because honestly, it really taking these different action items and putting them into place, it's going to change everything. And yesterday we had our coaching call and we were talking about, what is it? The Stoics, the Latin.
Amor fati.
Yeah. Amor fati.
Yeah, amor fati essentially is a Latin saying from the Stoic philosophers. And essentially it means, and it says, to be in love with everything that is happening, good or bad. Not appreciate, not accept, to be in love with. So you might be going through a financial difficulty, you might be going through X, Y, and Z, but as you're falling in love with, is that ideology that you're understanding that the universe does not make mistakes. And it's not going to start making mistakes with you guys. It's not going to start making mistakes with me. There is a divine purpose and reason of what you're going through, And you have to learn from it and you have to evolve from it. So that's amor fati in itself.
It's seriously, Janai. I mean, and you and I can talk some more about this, but when you really like embrace this idea of being able to truly manifest and create your future, then you can know that whatever struggle you're in, it's there for a reason, and it's going to be what helps you get to this next part. And believe me when I tell you that this is something that I need to work on a lot and that I am working on a lot, but I see it changing every second of my day right now. And when people ask me how I'm doing, I'm really doing good. I'm really doing great, if I say it, and there are moments, but all I can say is that, the information that we were given here, it'll change you immediately. If you start doing these things, you give yourself these affirmations, you start changing some of your rituals. And it seemed like a lot, because I remember our first coaching call and you kind of gave me this like breakdown of what he showed me his calendar. And I was like, oh my God, I quit. I want a refund. But I'm getting there and I'm doing it. And I think that especially in business as entrepreneurs, who everyone here is, there might be some people here who aren't even with Modere who were invited, but if like, no matter what it is, it's being willing to show up, do the things, have the faith, change what we need to change. Okay. Are there no questions? You guys, you feel like you just got.
I want to introduce myself. Hi, Chris. I'm Sarah. This was so powerful, and I'm so honored to be on this call with you today. The 4 pillars of performance rituals, I feel like for me is like just what I needed to have more structure, because I feel like my brain is constantly going, and it was a lot of information, but you laid it out so clearly. especially for the work rituals, I feel like that is going to help generate a more scheduled agenda for myself when working. Because when you're working from home in this type of business, it's so distracted, or I'm lax, or I'm like, oh, there's a chicken. Okay. Whatever it is. So like, this is really set things in perspective for me. And I'm just really grateful. I just thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Sarah, thank you. I truly appreciate that. I love you explaining that. And I love your daughter passing in the background, because that's exactly what we're talking about, right? Being an entrepreneur from home has its ups and its downs. So we just have to be more aware of like how to approach it. So I'm truly grateful that it worked out and you liked it. If you guys have any questions after this call, you guys have all my info. Go check out my YouTube channel. I have a bunch of information there. I'm really active on Instagram as well. I have a full team that kind of is there. So if you guys have anything, let me know. But Sarah, please let me know how that goes once you start implementing it and utilizing it within your life.
Is our podcast live yet, Chris?
Sorry?
Was our podcast ever published?
I'm sure it has been. I'm sure it has been. I mean, you're saying that I'm doubting my team didn't message you. I will validate it and send it your way. I'm pretty sure it has.
All right.
It's on my website, but I'll check it out and I'll send you that link 100% if it hasn't been. Wow, you're putting me down. I have a team that sends that stuff over.
I don't know. No,
okay.
I'm still working on the email thing. The email.
Okay. So we'll send that to you for sure.
I'm sorry. Can I ask a question?
Please.
Hi. So you mentioned a CRM tool. I'm kind of, number one, I'm curious what your podcast is called. So we could all check it out. But number two, when you talk about systems and putting in place systems, this is more of like a technical question. Do you have any recommendations for like systems that you have found beneficial for your business that we could potentially look into for our own businesses?
Andrea, first of all, thank you very much for that question. 100%. I have some things that I'll just kind of chime in here. So obviously, first thing I'm going to say is I'm going to name a couple of them. As you guys take these down, I want you then to go research in your industry, what are some of the CRMs that your colleagues are using, because some CRMs, some systems and processes are better per industry. But for me, no, I use a CRM called Aura with my team that's on it. I use Slack with all the communication when it comes to messaging back and forth with my employees and colleagues. In regards to my agenda, like I said, I use Google Calendar. Highly a huge fan of Calendly, which is essentially a booking system for your agenda. Before that, I mean, we used to live in a like Stone Age times, sending emails back and forth like, hey, when are you free? This is the time and all that. Now with the calendar link saves a lot of time, and as well saves an approach of like, if you have to ask any questions or whatever the case is, so everything gets booked. I have certain links that I send to my colleagues and they book my agenda with some people. So that's what I would suggest. And yeah, so essentially have a solid CRM in process. So you know that you could get off like, hey, if this lead is there, you put it there, you write down the information, because the goal is to get to speaking to so many leads that at a certain point you forget about the people that you spoke about or spoke to. But you want to have the process. So before you pick up the phone, you go read it, like, oh my God, yeah, we spoke about, you have a dog, Biscuit. And then before you start to call, like, hey, how's Biscuit doing? It shows that approachability. It shows that, hey, we spoke about this. This is what we offered. So those are the couple of things that I would suggest over there. When it comes to the podcast, so I have several shows that kind of all over the place. I'm blessed enough to put like 2 original content per day at this point. I have a huge team around it. But my podcast is called the Peak Performance Greatness Show, that obviously you could find out anywhere that's on iTunes and all that fun stuff. And I have an Instagram live show that I do every single Friday called Friday Flow. And I try to get amazing entrepreneurs, athletes, anybody just comes in and talks about, just anything when it comes to personal development and so on. So that's on my Instagram at Christopher Dedeyan. And that's pretty much it. So I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you for the amazing discussion today.
My pleasure. Thank you. So I have exactly 5 minutes before I need to jump, and I have a hard stop at 1 p.m. EST. So we still have 5 minutes. If you guys want to go ahead, ask any questions, we're still here for you for the next few minutes.
I'd love to just say hello. I'm Denise. And I have always been held back by like, oh, I'm not dreaming big enough. I don't have a dream. I can't, I don't even know what to do until I have the dream. So I really appreciate you answered my question earlier about how big do you dream? How far out do you dream? Cause I'm like, I'd like to be $1 million earner, but I I'm like, okay, this is where I'm going to hit by January. This is where I'm going to hit by whatever. But the universe, the thing you said about Oprah and the universe really spoke to me. And I love that visual and everything. And I also am dyslexic, so close to my heart that you shared that. So thank you for what you do. And I'm a big fan already.
Denise, thank you very much. I truly appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that. And as you were saying that, I'm going to go on a little rant here. Okay, guys. So listen really carefully. So Denise says she wants to be a millionaire. She's like, okay, sometimes I have a hard time thinking about what are my goals. And then once it comes about, I don't know what to do about it. You have to be able, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, to break down your goals in manageable steps. Okay. Now, this is a concept that was well explained in the book Grit by Angela Duckworth. So everybody's able to set your top tier goal. So I want to be millionaire is your top tier goal. But the honest truth is, Denise, do you actually have control into making $1 million? The answer to that is no, right? Unless you're putting guns to your customers and be like, oh, you need to buy it, they have the control of that. But that's still your top tier goal. So what you want to do is then you go into your mid tier goal. So before making $1 million, let's say, imagine I'm going to take an example of Modere, you guys sign up people under you and the brand grows and you could potentially make $1 million earning. Before going to there, you know that, hey, I have to onboard people within my team. How do I get people to onboard? Okay, I need to have essentially 40 like discovery calls with potential people that are going to come into Modere. And then from there, I potentially have a 50% closing chance. So if I do 40, I get 20 new people within my year. That 20 new people is going to get me that $1 million. So we broke it down to the mid-tier level. Now, once again, the question is, can you actually control signing 20 people every single day? No, it's not in your control. You can't put a gun to their head. But we bring it down to the low tier goal. Now, the low tier goal is I need to do let's say 1,000 maybe a bit a lot. I'm just going ratios that I had in when I was a broker. Let's say anywhere between 400 to 500 contacts per month, which brings it down to, depending on how many days you work, 10 contacts per day. So all I need to do is do 10 outreaches per day and let the math do its own thing. And then I'll have potentially the chance to meet 40 people in discovery call. And then I'll have a chance to close 50% of them, which will essentially bring me in a higher level to potentially make that $1 million. That's the way you break it apart. So you take your top tier goal. Everybody could do top tier goal. Like, oh yeah, I want to be fit. Oh yeah, I want to be in the NBA. But how do you break it down? And you break it down into a manageable step that you can control. Because all the two first ones you can't control. But Denise, you could control every single day waking up and doing 10 contacts. Now, granted, there's some days are going to be easier than others, but the fact is you could control that. So I hope there's some value within that for you, Denise, and for everybody else. Break down your goals. Another book that I recommend is Grit by Angela Duckworth in that regards. So that being said, Katie, if you permit, I'm just going to say bye to you guys. It was a true pleasure to have you guys on. I love the fact that you were a great community. Katie speaks so highly of you guys and the team. If you guys need anything else, you have my contact info. Reach out to me, and the call to action, like I said, you guys have the workbook. If you fill it out, send it to me. I will give you feedback on that, and it'll be my pleasure. And hopefully we'll be able to connect further. Katie, thank you very much as well for inviting me.
Thank you.
Have a blessed one. Bye, guys.